In Pursuit of Truth, this is your host, Sir Patrick Mack. Friends, patriots, countrymen, lend me your ear. No, seriously, I'm going to need that. I want to talk at you a little bit about a few things going on around the world as well as on the interwebs. We are talking a little bit about Bill Gates. We're talking a little bit about flowers, and we're talking a little bit more about the dogs. So, pump a little hand sanitizer on your hands, fist bump your neighbors, and let's get started. First things first, I want to say a big thank you to every single one of you for helping us reach 170,000 subscribers the other day. Thanks for your comments, for clicking like on these videos, sharing these videos, retweeting these videos, comments on Twitter, emails, all your overall general support. Thank you so much to every single one of you for all you do. And of course, if you know, you know. And if you don't, you better ask somebody. We celebrate all these little milestones around here with cake, and today is no different. This one's a ginger cake. It's a ginger butter cream cake. It might be a butter ginger cream cake. I don't remember. It's a cake. Don't worry about it. It's got stars on it, and you can eat those. I'm pretty sure you can eat those, otherwise it'd be a stupid thing to put on a cake, right? Anyway, so grab yourself a piece of cake. Don't share with CEO of YouTube, Susan Wojcicki, who's pictured right here, looking at the cake like she wants some, but no, there she goes. Anyway, so grab yourself a piece of cake. Thanks for all you do. Let's get started. We're going to bounce around a little bit, but I want to start you off with our favorite philanthropist. Bill Gates leaves Microsoft board. This is from CNBC. Microsoft announced on Friday that Bill Gates is leaving the board. Effective Friday, Gates is also stepping down from his position on the board of Berkshire Hathaway. I have made the decision to step down from both of the public boards on which I serve, Microsoft and Berkshire Hathaway, to dedicate more time to philanthropic priorities, including global health and development, education, and my increasing engagement in tackling climate change. Gates said on LinkedIn, the leadership of the Berkshire companies and Microsoft have never been stronger, so the time is right to take this step. With respect to Microsoft, stepping down from the board in no way means stepping away from the company, Gates said. And I want to stop there. I want to point out that a lot of CEOs we've been seeing step down are kind of doing the same thing. They're stepping down, but it doesn't seem like they're completely walking away from their business just yet. It's almost like they're just kind of trying to get away for a while. Microsoft will always be an important part of my life's work, and I will continue to be engaged with Satya and the technical leadership to help shape the vision and achieve the blah, 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 blah. So Bill Gates is stepping away from Microsoft and, of course, from Berkshire Hathaway, which is also a big deal. Alrighty, so one of the wealthiest people on the planet has decided to step away from his wildly successful monopoly to go focus on philanthropy. Seems noble enough, right? And much of that is focused through the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, which focuses on a lot of things, climate change, like you said, and AI, and of course health issues, in particular vaccines, everything from malaria to coronavirus. I wonder if he knew this was coming. You know, since he's been barking about it for 20 years. Well, we don't know if he's got a vaccine ready to go, but we do know that he's got a testing kit ready to go. Yeah, I'll bet you those aren't free. Anyway, he stands to make a grip of cash, I would imagine, off of these things. So maybe he's just preparing so he can make more. After all, there is quite a demand for him these days. Ever since Trump said it wasn't that big of a deal, Democrats are like, no, swallow my mouth. Here, you take my DNA. Take my DNA. Anyway, I think you understand what's going on here. Much more data collection going on from Bill Gates. And he's been doing this for quite some time. He's been talking about pandemics for quite some time. And of course, here he is making all these testing kits. And now it looks like he's running off. I wonder where he's going. I wonder if he's got a bunker in New Zealand. I don't know. Well, I guess we can only hope that with all this extra time on his hands, Bill Gates can finally find a cure. Until then, we're just going to have to be content with giving him money for testing kits to find out if we're sick in the first place. Meanwhile, the rest of the world is also dealing with coronavirus, and the effects are so widespread that I can't even begin to cover half of what's going on in the news right now, but I am going to try to paint a general picture because I want to move on with my story here. But we know about the travel ban to Europe that President Trump has issued. And this is very interesting because here we're talking about this epicenter of coronavirus and how it is now located in Europe. Well, I thought it was in China, but now it's located in Europe. And China's saying that it originated in the U.S., and the U.S. is saying that it originated in China. Meanwhile, our epicenter is in Europe somehow. I didn't know epicenters could move, but there's a lot of things that I don't know. So that's the story. Meanwhile, we've got 30,000 troops out there in Europe as part of this Operation Defender Europe. And this is a big, big deal. And of course, all the detractors are complaining about how all these guys forgot their masks, almost like they know something we don't. So with everything that's being shut down, one thing that's not being shut down is this constant rollout of SpaceX's Starlink satellites. And these are the satellites that are going to be providing our 5G network. That seems to be underway just fine. But everything else seems to be shut down, whether it's entertainment venues, sporting events. Seems like they really want to keep people off the streets. Or more importantly, they just really want to have a captive audience at home. Hint, hint, wink, wink. But I will say this. The people that I've noticed that are coming down with this seem to be our politicians, seem to be our A-list celebrities, seem to be our athletes. And of course, all the sporting events have been shut down. All the ways to really get out into these mass crowds, whether it be concerts and whatnot, it's all shut down. And we have a bunch of entertainers that are shutting themselves down. Whether or not they have coronavirus, we don't know, but a lot of them are just sort of tending to their health, right? And we talked about Tom Hanks and his wife, Rita Hanks, whatever, out there in New South Wales. And they were shutting down due to coronavirus. Now, they did say that they caught it. And I showed you the really strange Instagram post from Tom Hanks with the glove. He's posted a lot of these one glove, one shoe tweets. We don't really want to talk about that right now, but they were out there in New South Wales. Now, I do want to talk about this. This is from Daily Mail UK, and this is in regards to singer Katy Perry. Pregnant Katy Perry goes into lockdown in her Sydney hotel and cancels all press interviews as a safety precaution due to a coronavirus scare. And I'm not going to bore you with all this entertainment news because I'm not TMZ, but Katy Perry is a big, big star, and she's also out there in Australia, which is why I thought this was relevant. And she's pregnant. She's pregnant with her fiance, Orlando Bloom's child. Now, Orlando Bloom is also a very big star, which is why I think this is relevant. And he is filming in Prague. He is filming a show called Carnival Row, and there's a promo picture of the couple right there, good looking couple right there, and over their shoulder you'll notice that that is provided by Amazon Prime Video. Yeah, remember that. Here's another picture of the young couple with J.J. Abrams, and if you'll notice over their shoulder, looks like they're at some kids event. Just saying. Anyway, Carnival Row, Amazon Prime Video. Remember that. Well, it just so happens that the other day on the 7th, Amazon Prime Video tweeted this. This photo shoot makes me want to bop around Europe with Orlando Bloom and our dog, whom I've just named Ginger. All right. Well, to be fair, this was before they decided to cancel their shooting, but still seems like a real strange time to want to bop around Europe given everything that we just talked about. And I believe it's romp around Europe. Don't you want to romp around Europe? Romp, as in romper, as in Orlando Bloom appears to be wearing a romper. Good Lord, bro, what is that? All right, well, there's Romper Stomper right there with his pink socks and his onesie and terrible fashion taste. I don't know what he's sitting on. Is that an old Mitsubishi? Is that a Nissan? I don't know what that is. I don't care what it is. You don't need to email me about what kind of car it is. But anyway, he's wearing some really, really strange one-piece jammers or something like that with vases all over them. Maybe they're vases. I guess it depends on how expensive they are. If they're expensive, they're vases. Either way, poor fashion choice for Orlando. Here's another one. Close up with Ginger, I guess. Anyway, there's the dog right there. Cute dog. I guess he's not too bad either, but cute dog. And then we've got homeboy right here looking, I guess, pretty slick. And now he's added a little earring. Looks to be a cube. Kind of looks like a Lego. And then we've got a nice little feminine brooch right there. Ooh, what are those? Are those lily of the valley? Now, some people said they might be bluebells. I guess it could be bluebells, but I am going to assume that he is wearing a brooch with lilies of the valley. So, IPOT, why do you care about this actor and his stupid romper and his dog? Well, I'm going to tell you. For those of you who have followed my channel for quite some time, you probably have an idea of where I'm about to go with some of this. But if you are rather new to my channel and you're a little confused about why these dog references seem to matter, I want to give you at least a little bit of background because we've been covering it for quite some time. And I can't really sum up the entire story because there's a lot to it. But we seem to see a lot of different communications going back and forth on social media, whether it be in articles, TV, film, and of course, on the Twitter universe, we're seeing a lot of these coded tweets that seem to have to do with dogs. Now, how do we know them to be coded tweets? We don't always. Sometimes they could just be innocuous tweets about dogs. We have to allow for that. Dogs are awesome. Of course, you're going to tweet about your dog, right? But we see really curious ones, particularly with some of these celebrities. But we've seen this with the DNI, the FBI, the CIA. We've seen it with every single branch of the military service. We've seen it with the United States Secret Service, all the way up to the POTUS. And I'm going to show you even a few more today. But if you want to get a background on some of this, I highly suggest you start off with this video right here entitled Very Good Boy. This is one of the first ones where I really start to kind of chronicle some of these. But these involve some tweets from James Comey, John McCain, or excuse me, not necessarily tweets from John McCain, but John McCain's involved. And of course, Elizabeth with Warren, who's her dog was involved in this video. Start off with that one. And from then on, if you just go cruising through my video catalog, you'll actually see dogs on some of the thumbnails of many of my videos. That's how many we've got. So this story kind of keeps evolving, and I don't have time to really catch everybody up on the entire story, but we've seen these communications going back and forth. Please check out this video, Very Good Boy. Now, I also think there's a possibility that there could be some symbolism with the faces on Orlando's shirt. To get some background on that, I really only have one video for you to check out, and that is Vase to Vase. This is from January 4th, 2020, and we were talking about a mention from President Trump about a vase. He didn't say vase, he said vase, because those are when they're expensive. But he was talking about Kim Jong-un and a gift that he was waiting to receive. We were thinking that he was maybe going to shellac us with some projectiles, but President Trump was saying, well, hopefully it'll just be a nice vase. So that's what we were talking about. We were also talking about North Korea visiting China and how China gifted Kim Jong-un with a vase and why that means something, why that's important. Remember, this was a physical visit. But there's a lot here, and I understand that if you're new, what I'm saying here just sounds like a rattling off of a ton of facts. Please watch these videos to get caught up. But having said all that, let's just take a look at this tweet with some common sense. Here we've got Orlando Bloom, who is a very famous actor, and he's in Prague. He's shooting a show, and of course he's shooting a show with Amazon Prime, and this is Amazon Prime Video sending this tweet, so it only makes sense, right? They're just doing a little bit of promo, right? The only problem is that what this show is called Carnival Row, and here's a screenshot here. As you can see, it's kind of a, I don't know what you call that. I guess it's sort of a period-looking piece. It looks like there's a little bit of fantasy there too, so it definitely doesn't seem to be the theme that we're seeing in this promo shot. This promo shot's got a weird romper and a dog. Just doesn't seem to make sense, right? And at a time where you shouldn't be bopping around Europe, it seems really strange that Amazon Prime, who by the way is Jeff Bezos, Washington Post, is doing this promo shot with Orlando Bloom, who's got himself a flower, whether it's a lily of the valley or whatever it is. But we got a flower, we got a bloom, and we got a vase or a vase. And a dog named Ginger. Now, I'm not going to go super deep into this because I'm not 100% sure that that even is a lily of the valley, but I want to show you why I think it could be. First of all, it does indeed look like it. Some people have pointed out that it looks like bluebells. I'm not so sure that it is, but you could be right. And all I want to say is that right now I'm just showing you some possibilities, not necessarily what I'm saying something truly is. But these are a few of the meanings of lily of the valley. This is from flowermeanings.com, actually published not too long ago. We're just going to cruise through them because, like I said, it's not a big deal here. But imported from Japan in the Middle Ages, this flower has a very rich and interesting history. It is most known as a symbol of good luck and happiness. It also takes the center stage on May 1st. And that's what I've known about Lily of the Valley, is that it was kind of symbolic of May 1st, which is also May Day. And of course, May Day is also a distress signal. Just something to keep in mind. Now, of course, this has different meanings around the world. So we're just going to cruise through some of these. Spring, work, harvest, prosperity. You see the kind of bold highlights here. But this one is interesting right here. But there's also a different meaning of this flower. Lily of the valley is very poisonous and can cause pain, vomiting, or red skin rashes if ingested. Before giving the flower to someone you love, make sure they know that it's toxic. We can sometimes find lily of the valley in flower arrangements for funerals. So in some cases, it may signify sadness or pain due to loss or death. And I'm just going to stop right there for some of the newer people who maybe haven't checked up on these dog tweets. A lot of times when we've seen these cryptic dog tweets, sometimes that was followed up by funerals. I'm just saying. But what I am saying is that Lily of the Valley was also used in the series Breaking Bad. Many of you watched that. And here is from their own wiki right here. When Walter White was contemplating how he was going to topple drug kingpin Gustavo Fring, he noticed the potted lilies in his backyard. Brock Cantillo was poisoned by Walt in an unknown way with the lily of the valley berry. The doctors initially thought he was poisoned by ricin, as Jesse Pinkman had suggested, but later discovered the true toxin. The doctors and Jesse believed that Brock came across the flower growing naturally and ate some poisonous berries. Okay, so there's a little bit about the lily of the valley. So is there something more sinister to this strange pin on Orlando Bloom's chest, or is it simply just a fashion faux pas? Well, I'm unsure about the former, but the latter, I'm quite certain. Yeah, that's terrible fashion, bro. Anyway, Lily of the Valley is used in a lot of different fragrances, and that's pretty common, especially with women's fragrances. One of them being Indie by Katy Perry, who's engaged to Orlando Bloom, having his baby. Just not in Australia because of Corona. Anyway, there's another Lily that was in Orlando Bloom's life that I wanted to check out, and her name is Evangeline Lilly. And she's quite a successful actress in her own right. She got really big off the Lost franchise, and of course starred with Orlando Bloom in the Hobbit series, which was massive. And now she's also part of the Ant-Man franchise. So she's doing really well. But the reason why I wanted to bring her up was not just her name, Lily, but the fact is there was this kind of disturbing story over here off of eradio.us, and this wasn't from long ago, March 6, 2020. Evangeline Lilly feels alone and unseen, vents over traumatic year. Evangeline Lilly took to Instagram Friday, revealing to fans that she's had a tumultuous past year, choosing to suffer in silence until now. The Lost actress, 40, wrote a lengthy note to followers, accompanied by a 2019 photo of herself, explaining that while she suffered a personal trauma that nearly broke her spirit, she had chosen to remain silent, saving those around her from the negativity of it. Okay, so I'm not going to read her note. She's just talking about how she was going through some tough times and she didn't want to bring her fans down or whatever. But it says, suffered a personal trauma that nearly broke her spirit. Now let me just take you down to the last paragraph here. While Lily didn't reveal the exact reason behind this concerning post, she underwent the big chop in November, cutting her signature locks in favor of a brunette buzz cut, later dyeing her mane blonde and styling it into a pixie cut. Okay, well, this is really sad for Evangeline Lilly, and we've seen this story before. Very, very famously, we saw something very similar with a Britney Spears, but somebody who did exactly this, shaved all her head off and dyed it blonde, was one Katy Perry. Yeah, this is something that we see that's kind of behavior that is related often. I'm not saying that it is, but it's often related to MK Ultra behavior, where they kind of do this, and the word pixie is exactly the word to use, right? They shave off all their head and then they kind of style their hair like a boy, like a pixie. It's very, very common. Incidentally, I was just thinking that when looking at this strange banner right here, and as you can see in the bottom left, you see the green monarch butterfly there with a piece of cake over there. Trying to spoil my cake. Anyway, really, really creepy stuff in this picture here. The open tongue, the no thanks, the pearl up there in the upper right, the covered in gold hands, all this strange stuff. And of course, this is the banner of the Twitter page of Amazon Prime Video. So I got to tell you, this looks a little bit distressing to me. Here we have this really successful actress, Evangeline Lilly, who's been around for quite some time. And it looks like she's really kind of reaching out for help. Now, she doesn't want to be specific, but she's reaching out to her fans, which is probably a really good way to reach out, is to the people that really, really love you, even if they don't really, really know you. But either way, something traumatic did happen. She stated that. And whether she wants to say it or not, whether she's fearing some sort of repercussions or whether she's sort of trying to break some kind of programming, we don't really know. We can only kind of see the signs that we've seen before. But I find it highly coincidental that she's undergoing a very similar kind of episode as one Katy Perry. Now, I'm not saying, I'm just saying. This is an article from birthmoviesdeath.com, and this is from back in 2013. This is talking about the movie The Desolation of Smaug. This was part of the Hobbit series. Entertainment Weekly has revealed the first photo of Evangeline Lilly in her full-on elf outfit from the upcoming The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug. Not only is her character, Tauriel, a new invention not found in Tolkien's original book, but she appears to be a rare red-headed elf, which should stand as a rallying cry for gingers everywhere. I'm just saying. Now, this is just a side little fun fact for you here, but for those of you who were saying that you thought they were bluebells on Orlando Bloom's lapel, you might like this. Keep in mind, this article is from June of 2013, so a long time ago. But if you scroll down here, you'll see in the related product an advertisement for a Spice Girls Girl Power Jerry Ginger Spice. And there it is, part of the Spice Girls. She was one of the most famous Spice Girls, if not the most famous, Jerry Ginger Spice. Now, she likely popped up here, of course, because of the related ginger search. Oddly enough, it's on Amazon. We were just talking about Amazon. But Jerry Ginger Spice. But what's funny about that, her name being Jerry Hollowell, back in 2006, she had herself a baby girl, whom she named Bluebell.
Oh, God, that's it.
I know. Now we move you on to strange story number 2, and this one is just as strange, if not even stranger, as the first one. Meet the new odd pup, just like narwhal, green leash. Don't ask me to explain what it all means. I don't know yet. Well, I'm going to try and keep you up on this, and some of this is going to also involve some backstory knowledge. Now, this was in regards to a tweet from CNN. There were lots of outlets telling this story, but I just plucked one from CNN. Meet Ray, the golden retriever puppy who has one ear on the top of her head. And she's a very cute dog. I want you to note the green leash, which we're also going to try and talk about here. But very, very strange story. And the reason why I said just like narwhal is because there was another dog who had a very strange story like Ray, and that was named Narwhal. If you want to know more about that story, you can check out my video entitled Narwhal, and it's with a G-N-A-R, wall. And this was from, looks like November 15th, 2019. This was a dog who was born with a tail on its head, and it was a very, very strange story. But it led to some other things, and the reason why I think it was important is because what happened was we had this really odd attempted terror attack. And this was in London, at the London Bridge, where this guy, Usman Khan, who was a known terrorist, even though he said, I ain't no terrorist. This guy was from Pakistan, and he ended up getting stopped by a 5-foot narwhal tusk, and this came out right after the dog's narwhal story. So it was important, and this involved Fishmonger's Hall, which is where they got the narwhal tusk. It was a very strange way to bring an attacker down, right? But there were a lot of strange things to this story, which is why I would really appreciate if you watch the video to get the whole story, because it really, really was important. This guy Usman Khan evidently was trying to blow up the London Bridge. He was part of this Cambridge University program, and one of the guys who supposedly died in the attack, his father was actually supporting Usman Khan, and Usman Khan had actually been previously recorded by MI5, by the way, stating that all non-Muslims were dogs. Yes, and I follow up this video with Narwhal 2, also spelled with a G, and this is from December 2nd, 2019. But like I said, this involves the Queen of England. This involves Cambridge University, and of course terrorism. Now, this guy had this video. He was allegedly strapped with bombs. He was going to blow up the London Bridge. They brought him down with this fire extinguisher and a 5-foot narwhal tusk right after this strange narwhal dog story. But the video showed some other things. The video showed this bystander who walked off, and he mysteriously throws this handkerchief away. And then we had follow-up video where we actually saw Usman Khan, who was supposedly shot dead already, get up and walk away. And then the last story that we got from it was that his remains were sent back to Pakistan. Very strange story. and it looks like some sort of false flag operation. But this was all very significant and directly came after this dog story, Narwhal. That's why it's important. Now, there's also seems to be some sort of significance in this red leash, green leash thing, and we've seen sort of this transition in a lot of other kinds of tweets showing this shift from red to green, whether it be lights from the White House going from red to green. We had in England, we had this guy who was coming out with the, I don't remember if it was the CDC, forgive me, or if it was the WHO, but they were talking about the coronavirus. And we had this strange video that I posted, which I'm showing you right now, where he walks out with a red folder, and then all of a sudden you see him walk off with a green folder. Now, we're going to talk a little bit more about that in just a minute, but I just want to show you that there is some obvious significance. So now we've got this dog named Ray, which means ear spelled backwards. And it's a very similar story, just like Narwhal. So we're going to look at this here, and that's what it says here. This pup's name is Ray. That's ear spelled backwards. I'm not going to play you the video because I'll get hit with copyright probably, but really cute dog, very strange. Now it says here, she earned the nickname Unicorn when the remaining ear migrated to the top of her head. Well, I didn't know ears could migrate, but evidently this one could. And it migrated to the top of her head, and now she got a nickname Unicorn. You know, like a narwhal. Now, at this stage, this story is still developing, and if it's anything like our narwhal story, we know that there very well could be more to come. And let's hope that it's not like our narwhal story, because that turned out to be kind of a sketchy story, right? But I just want to offer up that these are some possibilities. I don't know them 100% to be the connections, but let me show you what I did find from cartoonbrew.com, and I do think you'll find this rather compelling. As you can see there, you got a couple of pictures there of a unicorn on a van. Disney sued by artist over unicorn van in Pixar's Onward. And Onward is a relatively new film from Pixar. This article actually is from January 29th. Sweet Cicely Danaher, a Bay Area artist, is suing the Walt Disney Company, Pixar, and Onward producer Corey Ray. R-A-E. That's ear spelled backwards. She alleges that Pixar stole her unicorn van idea, pictured top left, for its next film, Onward, top right. And the movie is actually, I guess, about unicorns and elves and whatnot. I guess these guys are elves, and the world is supposed to be very common that there's unicorns and all this. I don't really know the exact film because I haven't seen it, but very, very strange that here we were just talking about a narwhal dog that was like a unicorn, and now we're talking about this Ray dog that was also named for a unicorn, just ear spelled backwards, just like Corey Ray, who produced the film Onward about unicorns. I'm sure it's just coincidental. Now let me share with you just a few more interesting coincidences, if you will. This first one comes from the White House Photos Twitter account. And I want to point out that although this is not a quote-unquote verified Twitter account, there are always interesting photos here that seem to be relevant. And this photographer, William Moon, always seems to have good access to the White House and sometimes even to President Trump. This White House photograph is expressed the self-isolation of the White House participating in the suffering of the people from #coronavirus on Friday, March 13th, 2020 by William Moon. Okay, Friday the 13th, and many of you probably remember the famous film franchise Friday the 13th, and I'm sure it's just a coincidence that the star of that was one Jason Voorhees, right? Incidentally, the owner of our one-eared dog named Ray was one Brianna Voorhees. Just a coincidence. But anyway, as you can see, the White House is lit up red there. Now I want to show you this tweet here from Dan Scavino, and this is from the 11th. I do not know who made this graphic here. They are relating it to QPost 206. Can't wait for the green light, which is dated November 22nd. So maybe they are relating the 11 and the 22. I'm not really sure, but it looks like they are relating it here in the bottom right to the Q clock. Now, unfortunately, the Q clock is a very big topic, and I can't go into that, but as you can see, it is kind of lined up as a corresponding date there. Maybe at some point we will go back over the Q clock. We've talked about it before, but we're not going to talk about it here. But my point is that I want to show you is that the White House going from red to green. Now, obviously, this first one came at March 11th, so it was green first, and William Moon has it set to red, but there is another example of red to green. And of course, we also had the visit from the Irish Prime Minister Leo Varadkar, who, as you can see, is pictured there with POTUS, and they're both wearing green ties. And that does seem to be pretty significant because normally we're going to see a red tie from President Trump. Recently, he's been putting on a gold tie, but today he has a green one. Now, you could tell me, obviously, this is a connection to Ireland. I get it. My name is Patrick. I get it. The color is green, but normally the president will wear actually this shamrock brooch, and I don't see that there. I see the green tie, which is why I think it might be significant. But Varadkar did give a special gift to President Trump, which were these shamrocks right here, a sign of good luck. And I can't really read what's inscripted there, but of course they're talking about Sir Patrick's Day, which is coming up pretty soon. But oddly enough, he gifted it to him in a really nice vase. Or is it a vase? I don't know. Either way, I'm sure it's just a coincidence. Here's another one. Retired now, Orangey Hatch also came out with a video with his dog, who's tied to a red leash. He says, "It's been a rough day, few days for the world, so here's a video of me with a good dog." And there you see again, good dog. Go watch my video, very good boy. This means something. So let me show you a couple more here from March 6th from West Virginia University Safety and Wellness. Canines Nina and Ginger are hard at work. Explosive dogs search the Coliseum before home basketball games to make sure fans have a safe game day experience. Very nice. And then of course we've got this one from the 11th from the FBI Los Angeles. If you love dogs and you love crime fighting, you will love Ginger. Boy, we keep talking about Ginger, the FBI's electronics detection canine who accompanies agents and police while they serve warrants to locate hard-to-find digital devices. I don't know how you teach a dog to smell digital devices. That's pretty incredible. Watch her find a cell phone here. Hashtag digital Ginger. I'm sure that's also just a coincidence. And now let me show you this one from the FBI. Heroes come in all shapes and sizes. Only some have 4 legs and a better sense of smell. On hashtag Canine Veterans Day, the FBI honors all of the hardworking dogs that have served our community and our country. Thank you. Well, it's a ginger-colored dog. I don't know what the name of the dog is, but as you can see, it's riding the hoverboard, and you've got the famous DeLorean from the movie Back to the Future, which reminded me of this little fun fact. If you are a fan of the Back to the Future franchise, you will know that there's all kinds of interesting little Easter eggs and fun facts throughout the movie, in particular with dates and times. But March 15th is a very curious date in this movie, which just so happens to be tomorrow or today. I guess it depends on whether or not you're from the future. March 15th, 1973, George McFly is either murdered or honored. So there's kind of a dichotomy here. During Marty McFly and Doc Emmett Brown's antics in the future world of 2015, old man Biff Tannen, which by the way was inspired by one Donald Trump, had secretly stolen their time machine and used it to give his younger self in 1955 an upper hand in shady gambling. Biff, of course, used this advantage to build himself a substantial financial empire and criminal syndicate. Using his influence on March 15th, 1973, Biff allegedly had his romantic rival, George McFly, murdered. The shooting would go unsolved. Marty learned of this once he arrived back in 1985 and finding his city a little more dystopian than he was used to. After Doc and Marty returned to 1955, for some additional time-traveling antics, they managed to repair the damage to the timeline, netting George a sweet award in exchange for that bullet. And you can see here in the headlines here, on the top, George McFly murdered. On the bottom, George McFly honored. So this was a very significant date in the movie. So given the fact that the FBI has long been one of the sources of many of these cryptic dog tweets, I can't help but think there might be something to it. Now, in this particular screenshot, I have it at 6:15 p.m. I'm not exactly sure what time it would have been for the FBI. If it were indeed 3:15, I would say it would only further buttress my point that March 15th could be relevant, but it definitely is in the movie that it's referencing the Ides of March, smack dab in the middle of the Ides of March. If you're not familiar with the Ides of March, you need to beware the Ides of March. That, of course, is the date of the assassination of Julius Caesar in 44 BC. And you may remember from the famous play, Mark Antony speaking to the crowd saying, "Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ear." Okay, he said ears, but I like to think that he said ear. It just kind of makes the story better. Anyway, that's all I got for you for now. I will leave you with a couple of quick notes. I noticed that they were talking about this digital ginger, and I just keep finding that very, very awkward, as if they're sniffing for something. And of course, the response from Orlando Bloom, if it is indeed a response, maybe there is a different reference to a ginger. I'm not really sure. I think I pointed out some compelling stuff, but I did want to show you this. There is this Ginger app, which is one of these correcting apps. I'm not sure if this could be a possible communication app. And then there is also this other one, which I find incredibly creepy. This is a like a mental health app, Ginger, where uncertainty triggers anxiety. And of course, they're showing this graphic of all this negative Trump stuff. It's just very strange. Online kind of support. And some of the groups that are supporting it, like BuzzFeed and Pinterest, I also find a little bit sketchy. And considering what we know about the mental health business and their relation to things that are anything but mentally healthy, I can't help but imagine that there might be something to it. But I will leave you with that. As always, if you like this video, please click like, share, and subscribe. Thanks to all of you who do that. And thanks for helping get us there to 170,000 subscribers. I really do appreciate every single one of you. All my links are down below. If you've got information, please share it with me on email, as I do not DM on Twitter or any of those other social media apps. Please email me. It's all linked down below. My alternate links are down below. My P.O. box is down below if you'd like to send something old school. Thanks to all of you who do that. I do get them from time to time, and I will probably be coming out with a collage at some point to show you all some of the fun stuff. And of course, if you'd like to support the channel, my Patreon is also linked down below. That's all I got for you. Until next time, this is Sir Patrick Mack. Stay Pursuit.